What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of exciting news to go over. The LA Auto Show is going on this week, and so there's lots of new stuff that's revealed here. But one car that wasn't revealed, sadly, as a no-show was the new Supra. Everyone was hoping there was going to be a new Toyota Supra revealed there. There were some rumors that it might show up there, and turns out those rumors were false, and we continue to wait for this new Supra. But there are some very cool cars that got debuted this past week, and there's lots of them to go over, so we'll get right into it. The first one here is the 2019 BMW i8 Roadster. So we've seen the Roadster version spied many times, and now we finally see the official reveal of it here. It's got a soft top roof, but it electronically lowers and raises up to 31 miles per hour, and it does it in 16 seconds. And so it's nice that it's power operated, but because of that stowage of the top, you have to get rid of the rear seat. So this does not have the tiny little back seat that the i8 Coupe has, but I don't think too many people use that anyway, so I don't think anyone's going to miss that too much. Now, the i8 Roadster weighs in at 3,513 pounds, so it's about 132 pounds heavier than the Coupe, and so, you know, that's just what often comes with convertible sports cars. Other things here, though, they've increased the battery. So, you know, there was rumors there's going to be a faster version of the i8. Sadly, it's not really much faster. So they increased the battery from 7.1 kilowatt hours to 11.6 kilowatt hours. So the electric motors now have 12 more horsepower. That's it. 3 more miles of electric range for a grand total of 18 now. And the car can now get to 65 miles per hour without the engine, the gasoline engine at all. So, you know, a little bit more versatility, but again, way under all the other, you know, plug-in hybrids and things like that out there. But anyway, they have also changed the motor, but they didn't make it any more powerful. It's got the same 228 horsepower 3-cylinder turbo motor, but it's now been modified to sound better, which I didn't think was a problem with the original. I thought the original i8 sounded pretty good whenever I reviewed it. And it also, they say it generates lower emissions, but they didn't quantify that number. They just said it's lower emissions somehow. Also, the coupe version of the i8 is going to continue on, and it also gets the same improvements to the powertrain with the more powerful motors and batteries and all that kind of stuff. There's also a couple new colors, orange and gray, are available. The updated performance numbers here for the i8 is 4.2 seconds 0 to 60 for the coupe, 4.4 seconds to 60 for the Roadster, and they're going to be going on sale in the spring, but they haven't announced a price for the Roadster yet, but cool to see that. A vehicle that BMW did announce the price for this past week at the LA Auto Show, though, was the 2018 BMW M5. So it's $8,500 more expensive than the old M5, but I mean, you do get more power, you get all-wheel drive now, and of course the nicer, newer 5 Series that it's based on. So they're going to be starting at $103,595, and I think they said they're going to be available early next year, so cool to see that. Another vehicle that was priced at the LA Auto Show was the Corvette ZR1. So it's going to be starting at $119,995 for the coupe, so $120 grand for the coupe, and $124 grand for the convertible, $123,995. So yeah, and also this was our first time seeing the convertible version officially. Whenever they revealed it here at LA, we have already seen, you know, the spy shots. We knew a convertible one was coming, but it does look very good there, especially in that orange color. Also, that aero package, which gives you that large rear spoiler and all the other, you know, aero enhancing bits, that's an extra $3,000, $2,995 to be exact. But that's actually not the biggest Corvette news this week, because there was a very interesting report that came out. There was this leaked document supposedly from IHS Market, which is they're the ones that do like the reliability ratings, and they say like 98% of Subarus are still on the road today and all those kinds of things. Anyway, those people, I guess there was some leaked document from them, and they were forecasting engine production, and I think it's an internal thing they were forecasting for GM. But anyway, they're just providing info on you know, the next gen C8 Corvette in particular, and the engines it's going to have available. And so this was uploaded to the Corvette forum, where Corvette experts there dissected it and gleaned some very interesting things about the new C8. So the first thing here is, according to this document, and it seems like Autoblog tends to agree with them, that it's actually going to be revealed at the Detroit Auto Show here in January, which is a lot sooner considering the brand new ZR1 was just revealed here, and then, you know, 6 weeks later you're going to reveal the mid-engine Corvette. That's a mind boggler to me. I don't understand why they would do that. But that's what everyone seems to be believing here, and that's what this forecast is saying. And anyway, if it is actually revealed, then there's going to have more details we'll have very, very soon. But anyway, the big news here is there's going to be 3 different V8 options according to this forecast. If this whole thing is true, it's going to have 3 different V8s. It's going to offer the current 6.2 liter that's in the current C7. That'll be available in the mid-engine C8 Corvette. But also there's going to be 2 new motors. A dual overhead cam 4.2 liter twin turbo V8, and then a dual overhead cam 5.5 liter twin turbo V8. And apparently production has already even started on these motors, on the twin turbo ones. And so they're saying now, like, since this was supposed to be forecasting, the future as far as what is going to be purchased and stuff, it also spelled out how many of these engines they're expecting to produce for these cars. And so they're saying that the report is saying that the 6.2 liter V8, the current motor, is going to be the most popular, most likely because it'll be the cheapest, being the least powerful version of the C8. And so they're saying that should sell around 14,000 units per year is what they were predicting here. The 4.2 liter twin turbo V8, they said that one to do 7,000 units per year, and the 5.5 liter to do 5,000 units per year. But now, I'm not sure where the forum got these numbers, so take these numbers with a heavy, heavy dose of salt. But they're saying that this 5.5 liter twin turbo V8 could make 850 horsepower and 720 pound-feet of torque. Very, very awesome if that's true. We'll have to wait and see. That could also be like a ZR1 version or something like that. Also, this internal document or whatever also was saying that the 4.2 liter V8, the twin turbo V8, I think the Corvette forums are speculating it would do like 650 horsepower, but the internal document was actually suggesting that 4.2 liter one could actually be used for a Cadillac sports car. And that's all they called it, was Cadillac sports car in the document. So there could be different variants. Maybe Chevy's going to get the C8, and it's also going to be trickled down to Cadillac with a slightly different engine, and of course, completely different styling. I don't know. But anyway, interesting to hear that. They also say that 4.2 liter motor could also be used for racing or something like that instead. We also know, the Ford GT uses a small twin turbo V6, and that helps with, their racing, the weight balance and all that kind of stuff. So this 4.2 could be a racing motor. But with that 7,000 units, that sounds awfully high for a racing motor. So could have some, some other uses here like this Cadillac. Otherwise, they say that in addition to all this, they're saying that the current C7 is going to live on at least until 2021. So they would be sold alongside each other, I guess, is what they're kind of suggesting here. Unless this is getting confused, the idea that the C7 motor is continuing on to 2021 and not the actual car. I'm not sure. Lots of unknowns, but just fun speculation. 850 horsepower sounds awesome. We'll have to wait and see. I just wanted to pass that along to you guys. But anyway, back to all the other LA Auto Show news here and debuts. Mercedes has revealed the 2019 Mercedes-Benz CLS, specifically the CLS450 is what we're looking at here. And so as you can see, it's got this all-new swoopier styling, much like other CLSs in the past have had, though, where they have the high window line with the small little side windows there. And the big news here is that it's also debuting their new 3-liter turbo inline-6 engine. They're bringing back the inline-6, 362 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque that it makes. And that one's the one that's going to be called the CLS450. Of course, we'll have smaller engines, slower versions with lesser numbers. And of course, we'll have higher performing AMG versions, I'm sure, as well. Another thing, though, even in the 450 trim here, it uses a 48-volt electrical system that has an electric motor that makes 21 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque on its own. And so that helps with acceleration from a stop. So when you're rolling, inching up in traffic, all that kind of stuff. And it also helps with engine off coasting. So again, helps with that start-stop so that it's a little bit more extended and doesn't have to kick on immediately as soon as you lift off the brake pedal. And so this is all going to be going through a 9-speed automatic transmission. And the interior, as you can see, is very similar to what you see on other Mercedes. Very beautiful, though, very impressive, awesome materials. I mean, Mercedes interiors are some of the best. So that is not a complaint, just not very unique, outside of other Mercedes there. Anyway, those are going to be going on sale the fall of 2018, so very cool to see that. Another vehicle that was revealed was the 2018 Mazda 6 refresh. Now, it's not a completely new car, but there are some huge changes, and I mentioned some of these last week, but now we have all the pictures of it here and more details. As you can see, it's got this much sharper styling, has a nicer interior as well that I'll get to more in a second here. But the main upgrade here is that they're adding in the option for the 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine out of the Mazda CX-9. And so they have confirmed it does the same horsepower, 250 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque, but that's okay. That's very competitive with the rest of the stuff out there in the segment, and should be a very good performer. Unfortunately, for the turbo motor, it's automatic only. Now, they're still going to have the 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder with like 184 horsepower. That's still going to be available, and you can still get that one with a manual transmission as an option if you'd like, but unfortunately, the manual does not come to the higher performing engine. But no one else offers a manual in the midsize family sedan segment, so you can't really blame them for that. I'm sure it wouldn't sell very well anyway, sadly. Also, these, I think both motors, but they said especially the naturally aspirated one also gets cylinder deactivation now, but I think the turbo one does as well. The suspension, they say, has been retuned. It has better steering rack mounts for better handling. There's more braces and thicker metal for the rear wheel wells as well, which I guess helps get rid of some of the road noise, so it's more refined now. They've also redesigned the seats for more comfort. They also have available ventilated seats now you can get there in the Mazda 6 that has an actual windshield heads-up display instead of the little pop-up thing that you've seen on the Mazda 3 and stuff. It also has a start and stop adaptive cruise, so the adaptive cruise can now automatically inch up in traffic and things like that, in addition to just coming to a stop, which is nice to see. Also, it has the 7-inch configurable instrument panel now you can get on these, which is very cool. Napa leather is also going to be available, and real sen wood trim as well. And so anyway, a really nice overall improvement there on the Mazda 6. And I'm just so glad they listened to what people said. Everyone said the Mazda 6 needed more power. And then they had the motor ready to go. They just drop it in. They didn't even give it any more horsepower, but that's fine. Now it's got a turbo, 250 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque. It's awesome and should make the Mazda 6 one of the best driving ones out there, from what I've heard. Sadly, I've not driven a Mazda 6 yet, but hopefully that's a vehicle I'll be able to review sometime next year. But anyway, awesome to see that. Other little Mazda news here real quick is the Mazda CEO actually confirmed to Automotive News this past week that Mazda is going to be introducing a totally new and different type of SUV that's going to be coming in 2021. And they didn't elaborate more on what that would be. The natural assumption would be they'd be bringing back the CX-7 to slot in between the CX-5 and CX-9. But this talk of being totally new and different makes it sound like it might be something else. I'm not sure. But anyway, interesting to hear that as well. Another big reveal at the LA Auto Show is the 2018 Jeep Wrangler has finally been completely revealed. We have all the details on it here after months and months of leaks and speculation and spy shots. So here's, there's a lot of details to go over, and I'm sure there's other videos out there that go more in depth on all the changes. But here's just some of the highlights that I'll go over for you guys here. So it rides on a new body-on-frame platform that's lighter than the old one. And then in addition to that, there's also other lighter body materials, lots more aluminum in the body of the vehicle and stuff. So now the new Wrangler weighs 200 pounds less than the outgoing one, which is a really nice weight savings there and should help be a better performer in every way. Additionally, so now there's going to be two engines that are going to be offered initially here. First, there's a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that has 270 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque. Comes with an e-torque hybrid system too, and that has start-stop functionality. Again, basically like the same stuff I was talking about with the Mercedes CLS, where this has regenerative braking. You can turn the engine off during stopping and coasting, and so just basically, again, for those that do this stop-and-go traffic where they're just inching up for half an hour straight, this is what that's used for. It just really cuts out on a lot of the emissions whenever you can just roll without having the engine on. And so cool that they also say it helps with launches as well, which is cool, but mostly there for the fuel economy. And that comes with an 8-speed automatic only for that turbocharged 4-cylinder. You can still get the 3.6-liter naturally aspirated V6 engine as well. That does 285 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. So actually a little less torque there, although a little bit more horsepower. That one you can now still get with a brand new 6-speed manual transmission, or it's also offered with the 8-speed automatic as well. And that gets start-stop as well. They didn't. I don't know if they're all getting the e-torque system or if it's just the turbo one, but they said the start-stop functionality is on all the new Jeep Wranglers here, so no way to avoid that. But another thing is they said that a 3-liter eco diesel is coming in 2019 for the 4-door versions of the Wrangler here, and that's going to do 260 horsepower, but 442 pound-feet of torque for the Wrangler. Very impressive. That'll also have the start-stop tech and the 8-speed automatic transmission only. So unfortunately, you can't get a manual with the diesel, at least, to start. But that's coming in 2019. I also have to say, before I go on to the rest of the mechanical stuff, I actually really like the way they've restyled it. I think it looks, it's obviously evolutionary. It's not a wild departure, but I think it's nicely modernized, looks really good on the outside and on the inside. But anyway, continuing on here with the technical specs, there's going to be 2 different 4-wheel drive systems available. There's Command Track, which has a 2-speed transfer case, and then there's Rock Track, which is the more aggressive one, I suppose. I know nothing about Jeep, so I apologize for my general cluelessness about all this stuff, but they say it can ford water up to 30 inches deep, has an approach angle of 44 degrees, a departure angle of 37 degrees, and a breakover angle of 27.8 degrees. The Rubicon also has huge 33-inch tires as standard, so very potent off-roader right out of the factory there. And of course, there's, I think, over 200 Mopar parts available to customize yours and make it even more off-road ready right out of the factory if you'd like. And then other things like interior, like I said, they've nicely updated the interior, so it now includes the 8.4-inch Uconnect touchscreen, which has Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all that kind of stuff built into it, and a really nice update. I love the color panels you can get there for the dashboard. That's a really cool look, and overall looks a little plusher, but nicely modernized once again. There's also a Sky One Touch like retractable roof. It will retract the canvas top if you get that option on the Wrangler. There's also, I think, a removable hardtop there for some of the 2-door ones and stuff. Other things to note here, there's going to be half doors you're going to have available starting in the 2019 model year. And those kind of just have like a cutout in the door there, so it gives you more of an open air feeling, which is an interesting and cool and unique touch that hasn't ever really been offered before in the past on any vehicle. Anyway, these things are actually going to be arriving in January, so just basically 5 or 6 weeks away here from being available to purchase. And they're going to be actually sold alongside the old JK Wranglers here until the end of the 2018 model year, and that's when those will finish up their production run. But anyway, they also confirmed there's going to be a plug-in hybrid Wrangler coming in 2020, and they say this is basically because they want to future-proof the Wrangler, and they know this is the way everyone else is going, and they don't want it to be illegal to drive a Jeep Wrangler in the future where it's illegal to drive gasoline engines in cities or wherever, and so they want to future-proof it by having a plug-in hybrid version. They didn't give any other details about how powerful it would be or anything, but that is certainly coming here in about 2 years. Other things now, we didn't see the truck version. We've seen that spy plenty of times. It's been rumored to be called the Scrambler, but we're not sure, any details about that or when that's coming. That could be as soon as the Detroit Auto Show in January. Could come in Chicago. They reveal trucks there. That's in February, or it could be later on next year or something. Who knows? But that one, there's also been new rumors saying that could also get a convertible version, even for the pickup truck, which would be really cool. But anyway, interesting to see all of that. Toyota this past week revealed one of their hopeful Jeep rivals. It's just a concept called the FTAC, which stands for Future Toyota Adventure Concept. It's got aggressive looks, but that's about it. It's just a design concept. There's no engine in this thing or interior, so it was just saying, hey, look at this. Does it look cool to you guys? That's basically all they were kind of putting it out there for to everyone at LA. Definitely, I think it's about the size of a RAV4, but looks a little more aggressive and Jeep-like, I suppose. So who knows? I'm sure everyone wants a piece of the Jeep pie, so I'm sure they're working on some kind of more aggressive off-road vehicle that's kind of a RAV4 size. But anyway, interesting to see them reveal that concept. Now on to the other crossovers that you can actually purchase that were new here at the LA Auto Show. They've revealed the 2018 Hyundai Kona, which we are now actually getting in the United States. For a while there, they were like, oh, I'm not sure if we're bringing it to the United States, and everyone's like, of course you are. The compact crossovers are super hot in the States, so why would you not bring bring it over here. And of course they are. We're going to get two engines here in the United States for it. There's a 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder with 147 horsepower and 132 pound-feet of torque with a 6-speed automatic. Or you can get the 1.6-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that's familiar, from all the other vehicles in the Hyundai and Kia lineup. And that does 175 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque here in the Kona. And that's going to be available on the limited or ultimate trims. So you can either get it with front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, which is nice to have the all-wheel drive, so it actually can go places where you need all-wheel drive. The front-wheel drive models will get a torsion beam rear suspension, but the all-wheel drive cars do get an independent multi-link suspension, so the all-wheel drive ones will be the better handlers for sure. We're going to get a standard 7-inch touchscreen with CarPlay and Android Auto available, and there's going to be available heads-up display, all the safety tech that you could ask for and expect out of a 2018 model vehicle. It's going to be arriving here in the States in the first quarter of 2018. Nothing any more specific than that. No pricing announced yet either, but we're guessing it should be in the ballpark of $20,000 or so, give or take a couple grand. But anyway, cool to see that. Also, Kia revealed the 2019 Sorento that's been refreshed here. It's basically just new front end there with new headlights, grille, front bumper, and the back end they've tweaked the taillights a bit there. Now a couple other interesting things. 7-passenger seating is now standard on the Sorento. The 2-liter turbocharged motor has also been dropped out of the lineup, which is interesting. So now it's an all naturally aspirated lineup. You either get a 2.4-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder, which has always been available with a 6-speed auto, or the 3.3-liter V6 with an 8-speed auto. So kind of bucking the trend of everyone going turbo, and Kia's like, nope, we'll just stick with the naturally aspirated stuff. Apparently, there weren't any upsides to the turbo motor's fuel economy, which is an interesting thing I've noticed as well. A lot of these turbo motors in the real world don't get as good a fuel economy as they often are claimed to get. Other things, they also announced that they're working on a diesel version of the Sorento, and they said it's going to use the latest emissions safety standards to highlight that this, will be worth checking out, but they didn't give any details on when that's arriving, just that they're working on that. Anyway, all these Sorentos come standard with a 7-inch touchscreen, once again, with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. You can also get a 10-speaker Harman Kardon sound system now is available, and you can also get all the safety systems, again, that you would expect. Nappa leather is also going to be available here on the new Sorento as well. So cool to see that. Another vehicle from the same family, the 2018 Kia Niro plug-in hybrid was revealed. And this just basically takes the standard hybrid Niro one step further with the plug-in element. So now you have more electric range and stuff. So 26 miles of all electric range, which is 1 mile more than the Prius Prime. And so all total, whenever you're not using the electric motor, the gasoline engine does 48 mpg in the city, 44 on the highway, and 46 combined, which is actually slightly less than the standard Niro hybrid, but you don't have the electric range like you do with the standard hybrid. And I think it's just a little bit worse with the gas motor once that kicks on, because you have to haul around all those heavy batteries you didn't have to worry about with the standard hybrid. The battery pack is an 8.9 kilowatt hour battery pack and a 60 horsepower electric motor, all combined there to give you the plug-in hybrid. So anyway, cool to see that. And Nissan at the LA Auto Show revealed their new little crossover that they're hoping to cash in on this crossover craze with. It's called the 2018 Nissan Kicks, and it is quite annoying, and I'll explain why in a second. First off, this is replacing the Juke. So the Nissan Juke is getting killed off, and although I didn't love the Juke personally, I've never actually driven any of the faster versions of the Juke, but I was never crazy about its styling, but it was at least polarizing and different and unique. Anyway, the Juke is going away, which is really a sad thing because it's actually a big downgrade here for this new Kicks instead. So the Juke had available all-wheel drive. The Juke also had a turbo motor available. You can get with a manual. There's all kinds of cool stuff with the Juke. And so the Kicks basically gets rid of all that fun stuff. This is basically a jacked up Versa Note that just has more aggressive styling is essentially the takeaway. So this thing, the only engine you can get in this thing is a 1.6 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine that does 125 horsepower and 115 pound-feet of torque. I mean, that makes a Volkswagen Beetle or Mini Cooper look like a drag racer. I mean, it's just downright going to be so slow. It's also only available with front-wheel drive. So again, the crossover thing is just for looks because they know people want to sit up high and pretend they're in some off-road vehicle, but really this thing's front-wheel drive and going to be slow as a dog. It's also only available with a CVT transmission, but that's no surprise, coming from Nissan. But yeah, no turbo available, no faster engine at all available, no manual. Even the interior isn't as unique as the Juke. The Juke had some motorcycle-inspired gauges and cool things like that. Nothing here. It's just Nissan parts bin for the most part. Yeah, but of course, it'll get good fuel economy, 33 mpg, but you'll be getting rear-ended merging onto the highway trying to do that. Other things here, though, they're going to be available June of 2018, and one thing it does have over the Juke is it's going to be cheaper because, of course, you're getting way less stuff here. So it's only $19,000 or so. They said it's going to be starting well under $19,000 for this Kicks, and the Juke I think was like 21 grand. So yes, if you wanted a small crossover from Nissan that was actually fun, hurry up and go buy a Juke now because the Kicks is not it. Continuing on with a little bit of a rant here, Subaru revealed the 2019 Ascent this week at the LA Auto Show, and as you can see, it looks like a large bloated Outback. Now it's much larger than the Outback, especially when you look at them side by side. And I will say, in its defense, I don't want to be all negative here, it actually looks good, but that's the thing, it just looks good. It could have been so much better. If you saw the Ascent concept, that looked so bold and awesome and aggressive, and that wouldn't have been hard to put into production. It just takes a little bit of heart, and instead they're like, oh, well, we want to be safe, let's just make it look like an Outback because the Outback sells, and that's what they did. So again, Subaru continues to make awesome concepts, but does not actually follow through on them. It's just really a heartbreaking situation here. But it's going to be very impressive as far as its, family hauling capabilities. It can actually seat up to 8 people. So that's one more than a lot of the others that are just 7 passenger, 3-row crossovers. This one actually seats 8. And when you're at premium or higher trim levels, you get a free choice between either the captain's second row or a bench, which gives you either 7 or 8 seats. So anyway, another disappointment. Now this has this all new for Subaru 2.4 liter flat 4 turbo boxer engine here. And so I personally was excited because I was like, oh, maybe this will preview what we're going to get for a new STI motor, see how much power it puts out. Now, of course, it's tuned to be a family hauler. It's tuned to tow. These are actually going to be able to tow 5,000 pounds. So I know that with a different tune, this motor could do more. But in this trim, it does only 260 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque. And again, I'm just trying to struggle to understand why they would go to the trouble of developing an all-new motor whenever they could have just taken the motor out of the Forester XT and WRX with its 2 liters that already does 268 horsepower, so more horsepower on its own. It doesn't have quite as much torque, but it's not far off, and a simple tune could have given them the exact same numbers or even way more power out of the standard 2 liter. So why go up to 0.4 liters larger for less horsepower? It just makes no sense to me. And I mean, maybe there's some engineering behind, for towing and pulling, you want a larger displacement engine, even if it's the same output as a smaller one. I don't know, but again, it's just like, I'm sure they could swap the turbo and tune it, and maybe this thing could actually do more power than the STI, but I was hoping for a higher baseline so that hopefully the STI would have a larger power bump. But, with the way this motor's going, who knows? Maybe the new STI, when it finally comes, won't have much of a power bump, and it will actually rely on the hybrid powertrain that's been rumored that it's going to be getting, and maybe that's how it's going to be faster, because I'm not sure about this motor. But anyway, and getting back to the Ascent here, it's going to be paired with the CVT transmission exclusively, and they say 0 to 60 is expected to be 7.5 seconds. So, average crossover there. They're going to be on sale next summer, and no pricing has been announced. So, again, pretty underwhelming, but one thing that made more sense, I was reading, I think Autoblog did a story, and they were talking with Subaru about this Ascent, and they said basically Subaru doesn't care if they get new customers. They just want to keep existing Subaru customers, and they say existing Subaru owners, that have growing families, the Outback or the Forester isn't big enough for them, and they have to go somewhere else to find their 3-row crossover. They just want those people to stay within Subaru and not go somewhere else. So they know, okay, well, these people like the way the Outback looks, so let's just make a bigger Outback, and they'll almost certainly buy it. And I'm sure they're going to be right on with that. I'm sure that it's going to be a big hit with Subaru fans. But I mean, it's just less competitive. I mean, almost all the other crossovers out there have more power for the same money and same fuel economy and all that kind of stuff. The Mazda CX-9 is one example of one that's beautiful and bold looking, that has 310 pound-feet of torque instead of 277, and should be about the same price. So you know, it is what it is. But hey, I'm sure Subaru, they've been on a huge sales streak here, and I'm sure it's not going to stop anytime soon. This thing should print money, and so interesting to see that. Another three-row crossover, Lexus revealed the 2018 Lexus RX 350L and 450HL. And so basically it's the same exact motors and setup as you get in a standard RX, except it's been lengthened 4.3 inches to now seat 7 people. They've also changed the angle of the rear window and the roof there in the back, so that the third row has good headroom. Speaking of headroom, though, I forgot to mention the Subaru Ascent. I think an Autoblog journalist sat in the back in the third row of the Ascent, and it doesn't fit adults. He was like hunched over to fit in the third row of the Ascent. So basically set up for kids only in that third row. Hopefully it's a better story here for the Lexus because they're focusing on giving it better headroom there. But anyway, yeah, as far as the Lexus RX goes here, they're going to be on sale early next year. No pricing was announced for those yet, but I think that's something that, you know, a lot of Lexus buyers, again, have been wanting a three-row crossover and didn't want to go up to the huge Lexus truck-based SUVs, and so instead of going elsewhere, they can now stay within Lexus and get their 3 rows of seating. So anyway, interesting to see that. Lincoln this past week revealed their brand new Nautilus SUV, which is basically a rebadged and restyled, refreshed MKX. But they're getting rid of the alphabet soup names and going back to traditional names. And that started with the Continental and the Navigator, and now we have the Nautilus. And they're going to do them one by one, little by little. So even though just last week I talked about the refreshed MKC, that is still going to have the MKC name, but that could change down the road as well. MKZ should change at some point too, and I'm glad they're going back to these names. I think Nautilus sounds way cooler than MKX, so I think it's totally a good change on their part there. Anyway, as far as this new Nautilus is concerned, it's completely new from the A-pillar forward. So they took the MKX and you completely changed the front end there, so different hood, headlights. It has the new Continental grille, which is nice, new bumper. Also on the sides there, you can see a new fender / door garnish there, very similar to what you see on the Continental, which is a really nice addition there. In the back, you have some slightly tweaked taillights, look a little different than the outgoing MKXs. And then on the interior, there's going to be 3 new black label trims available. There's also 5 new wheel options, by the way, for the outside you can get now, which I think look pretty cool as well. There's also new safety tech. You can get available lane centering for the adaptive cruise control, so it kind of almost drives itself on the highway with a little bit of input, obviously, from the driver still needed, but you know, much more advanced than their standard adaptive cruise they had in the past. The rear seats have best-in-class head and legroom, and there's new ultra comfort seats that are developed with input by orthopedic surgeons, so they can adjust 22 different ways and provide lumbar massage as well to help with fatigue of your back there while you're driving on long trips. Now, another interesting thing about the Nautilus is they're mixing around the engines a little bit. So now it's an all-turbo lineup. They used to be able to get the 3.7 liter old naturally aspirated V6, the same motor in the Mustang and stuff that has now been phased out of the Mustang too. It's now no longer going to be available in the new Nautilus here. So you either get a choice of the 2.7 liter twin turbo V6 engine with 335 horsepower and 380 pound-feet of torque, or you can now get the 2 liter 4-cylinder turbo, 245 horsepower, and so that's going to be the motor that's replacing the old V6. Both engines are going to be available with the 8-speed automatic only, and they're both going to be going on sale here next spring. So very cool to see the new Nautilus. Infiniti officially revealed all the pictures here of the new midsize 2019 QX50, and it looks really, really good in typical Infiniti fashion. All their stuff here recently has been looking really, really good, and it has a nicely improved interior too, especially around that shifter area and stuff. Looks a little more higher end and nicer there. The big news here, though, is this has their new variable compression engine, the first of its kind on the marketplace here. A 2-liter turbo does 268 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. Again, are you listening to that, Subaru? A 2-liter turbo with 268 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. Very similar numbers to the Ascent, but anyway, I will give the Ascent a break here for a minute. Anyway, this new Infiniti motor gets some really cool improvements to fuel economy is the big thing here, of course. The front-wheel drive version gets 27 mpg combined, which they say is 35% better than their old V6. That's a huge jump in mpg over the old V6. I mean, for a mid-size luxury SUV to get an average of 27 miles per gallon combined, which means it'll be even better than that on the highway. That's really, really good. They also say with all-wheel drive, it's about 30% better than the outgoing V6. So Really impressive there. And as you can see, it's nicely improved there for the all-new QX50 as well. Volkswagen this past week has shown off their new R-Line trim for the Tiguan. And it's just an appearance package. Don't get excited. Unfortunately, there's no more powerful engine in this thing, which is strange because we've seen what looks like some type of R or faster version of the Tiguan spied running around the Nürburgring this past year here. And so I'm not sure, when that's coming, hopefully sometime next year. But in the meantime, we just have a cool appearance package, and that's it. And these are going to be available, this R-Line version, in early 2018. So anyway, interesting to see that. Other Volkswagen news is they brought an I.D. Crozz EV to the LA Auto Show to show off yet again. Nothing new there, but the big news is they are announcing officially this is going to be the first of the new Volkswagen EVs that we're getting, and it's going to be arriving, they say, in 2020. So basically 2 years, maybe a little bit more than 2 years away, we'll actually have our first all-electric Volkswagen. I think they're saying this is going to do like 310 miles of range, so it should be very impressive there. And Volkswagen has said it's going to be affordable. Whatever that means remains to be seen. Again, we're about 2 years away, so we can't expect a price yet. But hopefully, it won't be too expensive. And anyway, cool to see that. And the last news this week is something actually not from LA, but actually from Korea. And that is that Hyundai has teased the 2019 Veloster, which is going to be revealed officially at the Detroit Auto Show in January. And so we see it here with this very colorful camouflage, just a couple pictures. And it has the same door layout with the third door there on the passenger side that you open up. And otherwise, it's just a two-door on the driver's side. A very cool and funky thing. And I'm just really appreciative that Hyundai is sticking to the fun stuff too. They could have gone like Nissan and just gone all soft and given into whatever. And instead, they're going to continue building the Veloster, even though they don't sell a ton of them. It's going to be awesome. We're expecting to be getting it in a normal base one, a turbo one again with the 201 horsepower, 1.6 liter turbo like the outgoing Veloster, but that's fine because there's going to be supposedly a new N model that hopefully we'll be getting here in the States. And that's going to have, it could have the 271 horsepower motor out of the i30 and that the Europeans get. So that would be a heck of a combo there. And anyway, cool to see them teasing that, and looking forward to seeing the full reveal in January at the Detroit Auto Show. But anyway, that's it for all the news this week, guys. Let me know all your thoughts about everything in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.